you're here, and glad it sounds like you had pretty good holidays. That's nice to hear. Is there anyone who's brand new to Get Set Up today? How about brand new to my classes? Okay, well, good. I'm glad to have you all back. And Alberta, it's nice to see you back after your time away. Hope you had a nice visit with your friends.
Thanks, Deb. The only problem is my friend lives kind of between the mountains, and so we weren't getting good reception, so I couldn't join in with her.
Oh, that's the trouble with these internet signals sometimes. Okay, so you all know me. My name is Deb, and I'm here on the East Coast where it's finally getting to be spring, I think, although we had the coldest weekend, coldest and rainiest weekend. We are going to be talking about spinach today. So for those of you who find that to be a favorite food, I hope you'll feel compelled to add your thoughts about whatever it is that we talk about with spinach today. And you probably have some favorite recipes and ways of preparing that maybe you'll share as we go. Here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to take a look at some fun facts relating to spinach. There's always something, right? And the nutritional benefits, and spinach is really a nutritional powerhouse. So we'll discuss some of that. Just very briefly go over growing and harvesting spinach, just in case you feel compelled to grow some. Does anybody grow spinach now? No, it's not very hard to grow, so you might think about it. And then how to eat and cook spinach and some recipe ideas. I've been playing around with some ideas and I hope that you will like them. I'm experimenting. Some of them I haven't gotten to try until today, so we'll see how that goes. And I would like to know, what is the one thing that you would really like to leave with today? What did you come here hoping for?
Go ahead, Natalie.
Different recipes on cooking spinach because I love spinach.
You really like it, and you just want lots of different ways to cook it. Okay.
Yeah, I usually eat it in salad, you know.
Yeah, so you eat it raw a lot.
Right.
Okay. I see some heads nodding. Is that the way that lots of you eat it, raw in salads? Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just started putting it in my smoothies.
Aha.
And it's great. I mean, you don't taste it or anything, but I think it's great to get it in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it is. I get it in the smoothie.
You put it in smoothies too. Do you
Yeah.
put it in with fruits then as well, so that you have a
What?
Fruit and what is that? Oh, I forget that other plant. I can't think of it right now.
another green?
No, it's not the turmeric. It's the
Ginger?
ginger.
Yeah, that would be great. Ginger and spinach and some pineapple maybe, or another kind of fruit would be good.
Right.
Okay. So I have this question. Did you eat spinach as a child?
Yes.
No.
No.
I wondered about that because, do you remember how spinach was in those baby food jars? Oh, many of us like spinach after that, right?
Right.
And all that.
I ate it frozen, but never fresh. Like, the frozen spinach, and it had to be creamed frozen spinach.
Creamed frozen spinach in those blocks. And I bought spinach over the weekend because for these recipes I didn't have enough in my garden on hand. So I bought some that was chopped and frozen at the store. And oh my gosh, it's chopped in the finest little pieces. I have it sitting over here thawing and I'm going to drain it. And I had to get instead of just my colander, I had to get my sieve out because the pieces of it are so tiny. Compared to what I have here. This is what came out of my garden today. I just
Oh,
isn't it beautiful?
yeah.
So anyway, we'll talk more about that.
Deb, would you change your screen?
Oh, I sure will. To stop sharing? Which way? You want to see my bowl? Is that what you?
I'm just saying, did you eat your spinach as a child?
Oh, did I eat my spinach as a child?
No, that's what's on the screen, and I just have you in a small picture, so.
Oh,
I'd
okay.
like-
That's okay, because we're going to still look at the slides for a little bit while we go over these fun facts, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
Come back.
Hi.
Hello.
Mm.
So did you know that spinach comes from Iran initially? It is a very old vegetable. And by the time it made its way to China, Asia, it was known as the Persian vegetable. And it got cultivated and spread throughout the world. And you know, Catherine de Medici, who was born in Florence and then married and became the Queen of France, just loved spinach. She wanted it at every meal. And that is why these days, when you hear, what do we hear? Florentine, anything that's Florentine has spinach in it, right? And so that's why, because Catherine de Medici came from Florence. So that's a little factoid about spinach. There's 3 varieties of spinach. There's a Savoy type, which means it's real curly and crinkly. Have you ever seen that at the store? It comes in bunches and it has lots of nooks and crannies, very, very curly. And so that is a type that is very flavorful and very crunchy, and also really hard to clean because all of the dirt goes into those little crinkly folds and things. And then there is a semi-Savoy, which is kind of like what I've got here. It's not completely flat. It still has some crinkles to it, but it's less so than that other Savoy cabbage. And or Savoy cabbage. Actually, there's a Savoy cabbage too that has lots of crinkles in it. That just means curly. And then there's flat leaf parsley, like the kind that you buy in the boxes, the baby spinach. That's totally flat, isn't it? So you buy that, it's very easy to clean. It's also a lot milder. So you get a little more flavor out of the Savoy and the semi-Savoy, but the flat leaf are very easy to use, very accessible. And this is called, spinach is a member of the goosefoot family because some of the leaves can be shaped like a goosefoot. And that's along with the beets and Swiss chard. How many of you eat red beets or beets?
Love beets. Yeah.
You love the beets? How about
Yeah.
chard? How about
I never had Swiss chard.
yeah, so they're all in that same family, and chances are that if you like 1 or 2 of these, you'll like the rest. And
Oh.
chard actually for me has become a really nice spinach substitute when we get into hot days of summer. I grow it in my garden and it's really prolific, and it doesn't get bothered too much by the heat of the summer. So I can harvest it all season long, and I can make it just the way that I make spinach, and it tastes very much like spinach. So I like it a lot, and you can eat it in soups and things like that. So Swiss chard is a nice option if you run out of spinach, because what's going to happen here, and I noticed it today when I went out in my garden, my spinach was bolting already, which means it was starting to send up flower stalks and seed stalks. So it's saying, I'm about to die, I have to make some seeds. So it's doing all that. I know my spinach won't be around very much longer. So what kind of spinach do you mostly buy now? Is it the kind that's frozen in the freezer section, or is it the big boxes of fresh spinach, those baby leaves I was talking about? What do you like?
I buy the big box of flat leaf.
Yeah. Trouble getting through all of that.
Let me get resources in the race to find these gunmen. Am I any sense?
Wait, we might have some background noise. Just if you're not talking, just mute yourself so we don't have background noise. And then that should be fine. So do anybody else buy that in the big box? Yeah.
I buy mine in a plastic bag. It's a big plastic bag, and it has the flat leaves in it.
Yes, okay.
Hmm.
Do you
I've been
find,
buying the baby spinach and
Yes,
sometimes
baby.
it's mixed with arugula.
oh, okay, so you get the salad mix. That's nice.
Yeah. Do you know if it's triple washed? Do you trust
I
that
still
or
watch it.
I do. I
still
trust,
watch it?
I trust it,
Mhm.
but hey. Yeah, I think it's probably pretty safe. But as safe as anything can be in this world, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes I have trouble getting through a big box of that spinach, and I have to remember that if it's been in the refrigerator for a while, I should just cook it because it does last a little bit longer. And I think I'm saving it to have it in salads, and then I don't get around to it, and then it does spoil. So it can easily start to rot in the center. So we have to be careful of that, or we end up throwing a lot away. So here we go. The in the Arab countries, a famous agronomist back in the 12th century named spinach the chieftain of leafy greens, and it's really because it is so high in so many vitamins and minerals. So we've got vitamin K, a 402% of our daily allowance, our daily value of vitamin K, 52% in vitamin A, and 49% in B9. These are all really high. And then from a mineral standpoint, it has a lot of manganese and magnesium and some iron in it. We always hear of it as being really high in iron. It has 15% of our daily value of iron, but very, very low calorie. So 23 calories in 100 grams, which is maybe a cup. And one of the things that it has in it is two important antioxidants for eye health. And I don't know what happened to the second one, but it's lutein and zeaxanthin, if I'm saying that right, Zeanthin. And they're both really important for eye health. So spinach is great for us in that respect. So what do you think? Which is better for us, broccoli or spinach, do you think?
Spinach?
Anybody have any other guesses? I see you're shaking your head. Yes?
I said spinach.
Well, you would be mostly right. Yes, because I know this is a little on the small side, but if you can you see this at all? It says that anything in orange is high, spinach is the winner. So spinach is the winner with regard to potassium, calcium, vitamin E, folate, iron, magnesium, K, and A. And broccoli comes in on top with respect to B5 and vitamin C. So they're both really healthy vegetables, and spinach really does win on a number of those counts. So I wonder whether you have ever had that funny feeling on your teeth when you have eaten spinach. Did you ever get that?
Yes.
Did
What
you-
is that?
Did you ever wonder what that was? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like a dry. Yeah.
yeah, it's like a dry or a gritty, yeah, it's hard to explain. Set your teeth on edge a little bit. So
Yeah.
it's because there's a substance called oxalates that are found in a lot of vegetables. Beans have them, lots of different vegetables, leafy greens especially have them. And they are neutralized when cooked. But when we eat them raw, especially, well, even when we eat them cooked, we can get some of this sensation in our teeth. And it actually desensitizes our teeth. So it can be a good thing if we have sensitivity. What it is the oxalic acid is acting with the calcium in our teeth, and it's creating these little crystals. And that's what that feeling is when we feel it on our teeth. So it does not hurt our teeth, because I wanted to see whether it was a problem with the calcium on our teeth, and no, apparently not. What it does is desensitizes if we have some cold sensitivity and that sort of thing. So that's a pro. The con is that if you do happen to be prone to kidney stones, you might want to check with your doctor. There's a particular kind of kidney stone that is an oxalic acid kidney stone. that eating too much of it will exacerbate that condition or maybe cause you to have greater frequency of kidney stones. And I know how painful they can be. So that's just something to think about. When it comes to growing and harvesting spinach, very quickly, these are what the spinach seeds look like. I go out in my little garden and plant them 1 to 3 inches apart, and then I thin them when they come up. It usually is something I plant when it's very cold, but I was so busy with Get Set Up, I didn't get to plant it as early as I would like, but it should be 2 to 3 weeks before the last frost date in your area. And then you can sow it again in the heat of the summer if you keep it watered, so that it matures after the first frost date in the winter time or in the fall. And it is really like sandy soils, loose soils, and it performs best under 75 degrees. So we've had some hot weather here, which is why I'm getting those flower heads. And it is something that grows very fast. You can even get varieties that come in under 40 days, but the average is 40 to 50 days to harvest. And with spinach, you can go out and do what I did, which was cut away at the bottom leaves, and it keeps coming. Or you can cut even the whole, you can cut all the leaves off and leave the base in, and those leaves will come back. So that's called cut and come again.
What's the best way to freeze it?
Well, you will need to blanch it for about a minute or so, and then you drain it and you can pack it up in bags.
Okay.
So you want to blanch a vegetable like that. Most vegetables need a little bit of blanching. And that stops the enzymes that normally break down the taste and the nutritional benefits of a vegetable. The blanching and then cold shocking it will stop that deterioration.
Oh, so you blanch it for about a minute?
Well, that's something, I can look that up because I can't carry all that. It's different for different vegetables. Let me take a look.
Oh, I could look it up. That's okay.
Which
You
of
know,
the
my
three?
screen froze. Does anyone know how to unfreeze a screen?
Unfreeze your screen.
Because if I leave, I won't be able to come back into the meeting, right?
Melissa,
You can leave and I'll let you right back in. Feel free to reset. I'll be here to let you in.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
thank you, Melissa.
Deb, of the 3 types, which is the easiest to grow?
Well, they're all reasonably easy to grow. And
Oh, wait.
bloom standing, if you want to go with a Savoy, like a curly kind, you can go with Bloomsdale long standing is a really good one from the standpoint of having longevity. It's called long standing because it doesn't easily bolt. So you'll have a longer season with it. But all of them there's none of them that are particularly, well, having said that, I tried to grow for the second time a semi-Savoy variety that I just have not had much success with because it bolts early. It's one that I would really have to plant very early in the spring. So if you're looking for it, ask at your seed store which one will tolerate the most heat. That's probably the best way to go. Other than that, they grow fairly easily. You just have to keep them watered. And they do grow in containers too. Does anybody else have any experience to share about that? So how do we cook and eat spinach? Well, lots of you have said you eat it raw, and some of you have said you eat it creamed. So it's all over the place, raw and cooked. We can eat it in salads. We can eat it in sandwiches in place of lettuce. I thought it was a great idea when Subway introduced this idea of putting spinach on our sandwiches, because that was a great replacement, in my opinion, for iceberg lettuce, which really doesn't bring us much nutrition, just a lot of water. We can steam it. So the way to steam spinach is by just putting it in a little bit of water and letting it go for about 3 minutes, if that. Put a lid on. This requires a little bit of water with the lid on, and watch for it. You just want it to wilt. You don't want it to it'll go to nothing. It'll go to this wad of green stuff. So just let it be for about 1 to 3 minutes. And you can also do that in the microwave. I find doing spinach in the microwave is super easy. You can just put even a teaspoon, depends on how much spinach you have, but just a tiny bit of water in there with the lid, and microwave it for a minute and see what you have. Stir it around just until it's wilted. And then you can saute it as well. And I had a video here for this sauteing the spinach. I want to show you that. One minute. Okay, well, that's out of control. Never mind. We'll let that go. Oh, anyway, you can saute spinach very easily too in a frying pan. And the essence of that is to put a little bit of oil in the frying pan, but keep the frying pan relatively dry. You can put a little bit of onion in there and saute it for about 2 or 3 minutes, and maybe sprinkle a little salt on at the end. You really just want that to wilt as well. You don't want it to be, you don't want to cook it to death. So it's a very good vegetable for sauteing with any number of things. And I'm going to send you a recipe for spinach with pine nuts and raisins that you will saute. And that's very, very easy. You can make spinach with pasta dishes as well. So I'll send you along a pasta dish that you can try. I'm not demonstrating that today. You can use it in eggs and egg dishes and in dips as well. And in smoothies, which you've already said. So what is your favorite way? What are some other ways to use spinach that you have tried and liked? I heard creamed. I heard salads. What else? Anybody have a spinach dip they like?
Yeah, the old Knorr vegetable soup mix and spinach, frozen spinach. That's been around for what, 40 or 50 years, but it's still a big hit every time we make it.
Is everyone familiar with that or Knorr spinach dip? So Knorr, it is, Alberta, would you mind putting that in the chat, how you spell that? Knorr is
Knorr. Yeah, and I'll put that in. And Deb, also, I just recently, Wayne's daughter was in town, and I try to cook healthier things than I normally do. So I made a turkey spinach enchilada that was really good, and it would fit in this class, and it would fit in your healthy food class. If you'd like me to send that to you, I'll be glad to.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, we'll share that. If you want to send that to me, I can even share it with this email after the
Okay, I'll send it out right as soon as we're done.
Okay. So here are the things that I'm going to specifically share with you today. And I wanted to go over this very first one, these spinach puffs. And then spinach Madeleine, which actually came as a recommended recipe from Dennis Four, who is a member of our community. And I wanted to reach out to Dennis, but I haven't had a chance to get in touch with him yet to let him know that we're featuring his recipe. And then there's spinach with pine nuts and raisins, and spinach and strawberry salad with walnuts. So those are some recipes I'm going to send your way. But I was busy this morning. Now I'm going to stop my share and get on a different camera angle here. Have you ever used puff pastry dough? Some of you have, some of you have not. If you can see here, what I've done is lined muffin tin with some puff pastry dough. I'm going to show you in a moment how to work that. But for right now, I'm going to talk to you about the filling for this. So this is a really nice, this is a nice dish because after you bake these, they make a nice appetizer that you can serve right away, or you can freeze them for later. So what we have here is 4 strips of bacon, 10 ounces of, well, frozen spinach, but this happened to be my fresh spinach, so I used that. And in this bowl is a block of reduced fat cream cheese, 1 egg, and some garlic powder, black pepper, and dried oregano. So I've mixed that all up. I had to put the cream cheese in the microwave, and I just warmed it at 10-second spurts until it was easy to stir. So I had left it out of the refrigerator for a while, and that made it easier. So what I'm going to do is set this aside for a second. I have my spinach, and what I need to do here is add to it those 4 bits of bacon, 4 strips of bacon, and then I'm adding a 1/4 cup of finely grated Parmesan and a 1/2 cup of crumbled feta cheese. So I'm gonna have to crumble that a little bit as I go here. All right. So what I'm going to do at this point is stir that all up. And I already had chopped up the spinach a little bit, but you want that to be really well blended. And then after I get this well blended, I'm going to put the cream cheese mixture in on top of it and stir it all around. And of course, that's going to become my filling for these. Now I'm only going to use half of this filling because this actually makes 18 of these appetizers.
Deb, you said that this freezes well also?
Yes, you can make okay, here's the things you can do. You can bake them and freeze them the way they are, baked up for up to a month, and just reheat them in a 375-degree oven directly from frozen until they're all warm. And you can also make this filling a day in advance and store it, and you can fill the cups. Ideally, it would be nice to fill those cups right before you're going to bake them, but you could store them for a little bit in the refrigerator. I don't think I'd do it a day in advance, but an hour or so might be fine. Okay, I need a spatula. Anybody else just have to get the last little bit out of the bowl? I'm just crazy that way. All right. Looks like spinach dip. Smells really good. So I take a tablespoon, a heaping tablespoon, and fill it.
I wonder if that would go into a wonton also.
Ah, why not? Why not? I think it very easily would.
Mhm.
It would probably go into phyllo too, although then you're starting, it's a little wet for that. It's pretty delicate, that dough. You need very many sheets of it, but then you're into why not make spanakopita, which I was thinking about doing. But anybody make spanakopita or spanakopita? How do you say it? Does anybody make that? Okay. So what I'm going to do with this now is fold those 4 corners over to the middle. And this has been sitting for a little while, so it's not as pliable as it was when I first did it.
Deb, let me ask you, did you grease your muffin tin first, or you just put the pastry in there just dry?
Great question. You certainly do. You want to grease your muffin tin. Yep. And then I'm going to take this and I beat up an egg here. Just going to put a little bit of egg wash on this. I have a lot of leftover egg. Doesn't take much.
You also use the yolk in your egg.
This called for it. And you know what? It's funny you say that because I had an egg white in the refrigerator that I was thinking, I got it out and I whipped it all up. And I thought, just in the spirit, whoops, missed one. Just in the spirit of following the recipe, I'm going to follow the recipe. So I just used the egg yolk as well. We'll see.
Okay.
So this is in a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes. I'm going to ask Alexa to keep track of that. Alexa, can you set the timer for 20 minutes, please? She doesn't really care if I say please or not. Okay. So here's what I wanted to show you with the other batch. So I rolled my dough out on this, and you want to have your dough surface really floured because it can really stick. So have you seen this puff pastry? This is how it comes. Sometimes I use Pepperidge Farm. I really like Pepperidge Farm. I left this out of the refrigerator a little long. For some reason, this brand doesn't put it in any kind of plastic, which is a bit of a bummer. Now it's sticking to the bottom of the box. That's the dumbest thing. I think Pepperidge Farm might be a little more careful about how they package theirs. But that's how it comes. That's how it looks. And what we want to do is unfold it. It worked beautifully this morning. Now let's see if it's not too soft. I might have had it out a little too long.
Yeah, I think if others at home are having that problem, you could refrigerate it for a short time.
Exactly, I'd probably do that. You're right. So I had it out in preparation, and you can see what happens. So this is good. This is why we do these things sometimes, right? So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to roll it out just the way it is. And it really needs to be somewhere in the 10 to 11 inch square range. And if you keep your pin floured, that helps a lot too. not going to be as pretty as it was square wise, but it was rolled out, folded, but it doesn't matter because think about what you're doing. You're really just lining that muffin tin. And what we do here is then, I think that looks about right. What do you think? Not bad. So what we're
Not
going,
bad.
not bad, it works. Nothing has to be
Mhm.
perfect. So we're going to do this about, we're going to do 3. Ooh, that's more than what, that's actually going to be a lot. So we're going to cut it this way 3 times. Okay, I'm patching that one up. I want it to be wider. And then 3 this way. And I don't have a second muffin tin, so this is just going to go by the wayside now till my other one is set to go. And with any luck, I can lift this up and move it over for right now. So just cutting those into 9 squares, you can see that it's kind of foolproof. There's nothing that difficult about working with it. So we'll see how those go. And then I am on to the other thing that the dentist provided us, which is this Madeline, spinach Madeline. Have you heard of this? Spinach Madeline can be served as either a, change my camera, can be served as either an appetizer or as a side dish. And so it calls for 2 packages of frozen chopped spinach. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't say how many ounces in this recipe. So I wasn't sure. And so I'm going to go on the heavier side. I have a 16-ounce pack of frozen spinach. Sometimes they're 10 ounces. So I was thinking 20. So 16 ounces. And then I have some over here that I cooked from out of my garden. So I'm going to add that in there. And what we're doing here is cooking the spinach and then melting butter in a saucepan over low heat, adding flour and stirring until that is blended and smooth but not brown. So you're somewhat making a roux. And then we're adding onion and cooking that until it's soft but not brown. So I'm going to try that right now. And I'm going to drain this spinach though. Now this chopped spinach, I'll be honest, it's been cooked, it's been blanched to be frozen. It doesn't need to be cooked anymore. I'm not cooking it again. It's going to get cooked in this dish. So I'm just letting that dry and adding this spinach to it, just tearing it apart a little bit. So I'm still working on how to get closer to my stove, but I have melted the butter on here. I turn it on and be whisking the flour into this butter. And then this recipe uses evaporated milk. Do you know what evaporated milk is? Can somebody talk about that?
All I know is that it comes in a can.
Yep, comes in a can and you have to shake it well. Yep.
It's regular milk that some of the water has been evaporated in, so it's concentrated milk.
Exactly. And it's not sweet, but it does end up having a different taste than regular milk. And it was really a godsend back in the day when it was difficult to keep milk safe and cold. So this calls for a half a cup of the spinach juice that was used for cooking. So I had kept some of that. And it calls for a half can of evaporated milk. So I'm just going to add that all in here together. I already shook this can. You need to shake evaporated milk. And so after we brown the butter in this pan over here, we're going to add the liquid into this until it gets saucy, creamy. And then we're going to add jalapeno cheese, which I've cubed into very small pieces. And we're going to add some Worcestershire sauce, black pepper, celery salt, garlic salt, and red pepper. Those are the things that will be added into this recipe. And then we just stir until all of that gets melted, and then add the spinach. And what we can do with this is serve it right away out of the pot as a side dish, or as I'm going to do, I'm going to put it into this casserole dish. And I'm going to put a few breadcrumbs on it and make it that way. I think it'll be really pretty with some breadcrumbs over top. Do you like hot pepper cheese? Jalapeno cheese? Yeah. So if you didn't, what could you have instead, do you think?
Just plain Monterey Jack, I would think.
Yeah, just put some Monterey Jack in, something that's got a little bit of flavor to it, so it pops. This is obviously a little bit of a spicy dish because it's
What about a Gouda cheese? Could you use a Gouda?
yeah, how does Gouda? I think you want to use something that's going to get good and creamy. So if it would, Gouda can be a little on the harder side. I guess it would melt. It melts. I think I'd want to probably use a soft cheese. Monterey Jack would be nice. Okay, so I need Worcestershire, I need pepper, I need garlic powder. You know, I need garlic salt actually. So what do you do when you have garlic powder and you have salt, but you don't have any garlic salt?
Mix it up.
Yeah, and do you know how? Do you know what the ratio is?
I did, and I've got it on my substitutions list, but I don't know offhand. I don't remember.
No, you can't keep those things in your head. So here's the nice thing though. You can say, Alexa, how do I make up a teaspoon of garlic salt?
Here's something I found on the web.
You hear?
According to reference.com, half a teaspoon of minced garlic can be substituted with 1/8 teaspoon of garlic powder, half teaspoon of garlic flakes, or 1/4 teaspoon of granulated garlic salt.
That didn't answer it for me. I asked it a different way. And what I have here is, so the lesson there is you have to keep asking Alexa things different ways to get this. So it's a quarter, it's 1/4 teaspoon. This is for a teaspoon of garlic salt, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 3/4 teaspoons of salt. That's the ratio. And my flour is really foaming up. I'm going to add the onion now. And just let that brown a little bit. And then we'll add the rest. So the milk and the spinach juice next. So I have to ask this question. Does anybody have a favorite fudge recipe? I am really looking for somebody to join me and talk about fudge. Judith Willis is going to do that. We need a few more recipes. Now, here's the other thing that I would throw out. You can tell me in the chat whether you'd be interested in this. If anybody is interested in finding a fudge recipe and experimenting with it and doing a review on it and talking about it on a fudge day, that could be fun. And if you're up for it, I would certainly entertain it. Okay, so I'm adding our juices now, juice and milk. Of course, it's getting thick and I'm stirring very fast so I don't get lumps. And now I'm going to add the combination here of the garlic salt and the celery salt. Which is another 3/4 teaspoon. Red pepper. This red pepper, you can decide whether you want to put in it or not, because you do have the jalapeno pepper in there. So I'm just going to put a slightly less amount, more like 1/8 of a tea. And then a little bit of black pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. So this gets added to our onion milk flour mixture. Say 1/2 teaspoon. 1/2 teaspoon, not a whole teaspoon. All right, that's a lot of spice. All right, let me refresh. Now we add the cheese. This is going to be super tasty.
That looks like it would be a really good recipe to serve along with fish.
I think that's true. And I really like that it's so versatile that you can serve it as a side dish or as an appetizer, a dip. What do you think it would taste good on as a dip, as an appetizer?
Some pita, maybe. Pita squares, pita triangles. Yeah. Deb, I wonder, did he say why he called it spinach Madeline? Because I was picturing you were going to do something in a Madeline cookie sheets, you know.
Yeah, you know what? Just before this class, first of all, there's a lot of recipes for this. So if there's anybody who's online and wants to take a quick peek on that while we're cooking, because I didn't get a chance to do that, and I thought I really need to look that up, because wonder why there's so many recipes for spinach Madeline. There must be a history to that. So I didn't. So now we have this nice cheese sauce here. That's all great. And I'm going to, I think my next step is to just fold in the cooked spinach. And I think I overdid it or I underdid it when it comes to the size of my pan. I have just enough space, I guess. Oh, this smells delicious.
I'm seeing that it says the recipe was first published in 1959 by a junior league of Baton Rouge.
Oh my. Okay.
River Road Recipes, yeah.
But it doesn't say why.
Not that I can see just thumbing through this quickly.
Maybe she was at the junior league. Maybe Madeline was a member of the junior league. Okay, so I have now this nice, I'm going to just, for good measure, spray this and put it into my baking dish here.
Deb, you're right. It was named after the recipe's creator, Madeline Neville.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh, Redmond. Okay.
Redmond, Madeline Redmond. And where did you say it was?
Baton Rouge,
Baton Rouge.
Louisiana.
So you can see that for this amount that I made in this pan, I'm using an 8x8 casserole dish. You might want to remember this because this recipe doesn't really tell you that, but you know, it is telling you to eyeball it so you know, but because you're supposed to just be able to eat it right out of the pan here. And I'm just going to sprinkle a few breadcrumbs on that and bake it later, but I could freeze this as well and have it for later, which is a good thing to do if we have leftover spinach or a lot of spinach. Like I should remember to do that when my crop of spinach is really a lot. Oh, you know, I don't think I put the Worcestershire in, did I? A teaspoon of Worcestershire goes in there too. So guess what? We're going to just swirl a little Worcestershire in. Because I don't think I want to miss that. I think that might be an important part of this. Alexa, how much time is on the timer?
You have 50 seconds left on your 20-minute timer.
All right, we're going to get those out. We're getting close to the end of our session here.
Okay, Deb, another fact is she's saying that you could spread it on toasty baguettes. And if
Yeah.
if you can't find jalapeno cheese, substitute 4 ounces of Velveeta and two minced jalapenos.
Okay, there you go. So Velveeta is not my favorite thing, but it does give you the idea that it should be kind of a soft cheese. So these are not quite finished. I'm going to let them brown a little bit longer, but aren't they beautiful? Don't they make a nice, and they're very easy presentation. So I think that the egg white there, so the egg white helps give shine and the egg yolk helps give browning. And that's what we're getting here, a little bit of both. Alexa, timer off. So that gives us our experiments with spinach for the day. And I'm going to send you a few more recipes. I see, just checking the chat. Puffs sound delicious. Yes, thank you, Jody. I think they're going to be wonderful. I can't wait to serve them. I'm having some a house guest here this week, so I guess I'll be feeding him. And so that should be great. Hope he likes spinach because there's going to be a lot of spinach dishes around here. All right. So we covered a lot today. Thanks as always. Whenever it's the first class, no matter how much you prepare, when it's the first class of anything, you never quite, you know how it goes. So thanks for bearing with me and watching me with my foibles in my kitchen here. And if you are interested in talking about or testing a recipe and talking about it in class, whether it's fudge or something else, I'd really like to know. I think that could be a fun thing for us to do if we just had decided on a topic and said, oh, we're all going to test or pick a recipe on something and pick the topic and then test it and bring our test findings. So if you would be interested in that, let me know. And is there one of these recipes you think you might like to try? No? Don't they?
Yes. Yes, the one you got in the oven.
The one I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right. So I'm having Spotlight on Strawberries this afternoon, if you haven't been to that. And then this evening, Heart Healthy Meals. And this week, a couple of our community members are coming in. Leslie Lamb is going to talk about easy cooking for 1 or 2. She has some good tips and ideas because she's a self-professed lazy cook. And Pam Penny's coming back to talk about baking muffins. So hopefully you'll join us for one of those. As usual, give us some feedback here and let me know what you think, what would have made this session better. And you can go ahead and view the schedule right from the email. I'll send you some ideas for some additional classes. Don't forget to invite friends. Alberta, I'm really sorry that your friend can't join you. And we're always looking for ways to connect with your community organizations. Just send us an email and we can reach out to them if they're interested. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Have
Yeah,
you done
thank
anything
you.
with cream puffs?
No, not.
Oh.
Who's asking me that?
Gail, because I'm dying to make those, but they seem so finicky, but they're
Well,
supposed to be easy.
I'll put it on the list, Gail. We'll figure it out. It's a good suggestion.
Okay, sounds good.
That was actually
Thank you.
tough. Yep, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. The puffs smell good.